Hi everyone, this is Jim from City Bike Walk. Hope you're having an awesome day. Today is July 6th, 2020. I'm here on Canal Street, just off the Holland Tunnel exit Rotary. As you can see, a lot of cars are coming in from Jersey. So I'll be doing a tour of TriBeCa. For the first half I'll be walking, and then there's a lot of facts to cover, and then I'll be biking throughout the area. So TriBeCa stands for, is abbreviated from Triangle Below Canal Street, which is a abbreviated syllables. So you know, they came up with a marketing name to sell the area, and they've been very successful with it. This is one of the most, if not the most expensive neighborhood in all of New York City. So what you're seeing now is the Holland Tunnel exit Rotary. Yeah, like I said, a lot of the cars are coming off of the Holland Tunnel, and you see this overpass. We'll be walking over it. And before there was a exit Rotary, this used to be a train terminal built by Cornelius Vanderbilt. Cornelius Vanderbilt also built the Grand Central Terminal, and he got rich off of the rail yards, the railroads, construction of the railroads in this country, and also shipping. So very wealthy man, just like Jeff Bezos of nowadays. Across the street used to be the TriBeCa theaters, cinema theaters. I personally, 10 years ago, along with some friends, premiered a movie here. We basically rented a theater, and we showed it to our friends and family, and it was a really beautiful theater. I mean, it was part of one of the venues for the TriBeCa Film Festival, which has you know, the neighborhood itself has a long history with movie making, and I'll be showing you some places that were filmed here. All right, let's get started. Oh, got not in time for the light. Anyway, I'm not sure if he's still associated with this building here, but Robert De Niro started the TriBeCa Film Festival, and hopefully he'll get to continue that. It looks like it might be a larger venue, so hopefully it does continue to be a movie theater, because it really had a really nice marquee here, like really old style, very distinctive to the area. So yeah, much of TriBeCa is named after wealthy landowners and merchants from the colonial times, and also some members of the Trinity Church, because like I said, Trinity Church was the major landowner, and they were bequeathed this land by the Royal Crown, Queen Anne, and yeah. There's a shot of I call that the Jenga building over at 56 Leonard, because it looks like the balconies are sticking out like, you know, pieces from Jenga. And here we have somewhat of an idea of a park. And here's the other side, cars coming off of the Holland Tunnel. There's a huge, big open area. Unfortunately, you can't do much with it. The city could probably choose to put a building there, but I guess not, because you can't really access to it. So it's just a big open space, you know, that makes its way around like a roundabout. Anyway, TriBeCa features a lot of old industrial warehouse buildings. Back in the day, it used to be a huge industrial area, which was responsible for much of a lot of the parts that were made here, manufactured here, was responsible for much of the construction boom for the city. We have this building, the Grappler Manufacturing Pipe Fittings. So looks like the exterior facade was restored. Right now they're like been converted to very expensive luxury condo living, worth millions and millions of dollars. I can't even tell you how much. A lot of celebrities do live here. I believe Robert De Niro does live here. He's a long-time resident. And most recently would be Taylor Swift. She has a condo loft somewhere. So yeah. Walking along the perimeter of this exit rotary gives you an idea of what St. John's Park used to look like. Not really. Oh wait, I just missed the light. I'm like, keep it moving. I'll cross the street here. Oh, Hudson Street. Notice how wide this street is. So, believe it or not, this used to have a elevated train tracks here. They used to run across Hudson Street, and that's obviously been demolished. This used to be called the L. EL stands for, abbreviated for elevated. Let me ask the cops if I could walk through, because I want to be able to get through it. I'll wait for the lights. Can I walk through?
Oh, where you going?
Just going across.
You gotta go
No?
around.
All right, no worries. So I can't walk across. At the end of that block is the first precinct. So it's a police station. So that's why they kind of lock the area out. I'm on North Moore Street. Very beautiful street. I believe the son of John F. Kennedy Jr. He lived here before he passed away with his fiance, girlfriend. I think her name was Jacqueline Bassett, if I'm correct. That passed away in the helicopter crash. Very tragic. Sorry, I'm gonna get away from this guy rolling his bucket and mopping the floor. Ruining my audio. This is a really cool looking, looks really old. It's a restaurant called, or a pub called Walker's. Really old. They serve American food, sports bar. But inside has like the old style tin roof. Across the street is a very familiar sight to many of you. It's of course this one's called Hook and Ladder 8. So looks like it is a functioning fire engine station. And of course it was featured in the Ghostbusters movie, and as well as one Seinfeld episode, so where Kramer wanted to he had ideas for improving how engine trucks navigate through the city, and he wanted to or at least one day be a fireman. Let me get a shot of the logo. They incorporated the Ghostbuster logo. Here's the inside. This building was actually nearest two. Now you just see one building. It used to actually be two separate two buildings that had to be demolished for the construction of the train line. Maybe the one train going to Franklin Street. So yeah, Back then, we don't have a fire station, you know, department like we do have now, but firefighting used to be done by volunteer fire groups. People within the neighborhood would volunteer to be firefighters, and yeah, each individual building was, you know, back then there was a lot of fires happening, so there actually be a placard, you know, in the front of the building saying who was responsible for handling the fires. So sometimes, you know, there was money involved to put out these fires. So some of these volunteer groups would, you know, rush over to try to put out the fire, and yeah, whoever was there first would put out the fire. But sometimes, you know, they got into fights. So yeah, it was kind of a ridiculous scene of people fighting, and there's a fire going in the background. You know, kind of like a Michael Bay movie. So not all that different. Let me see. I want to show you that building, but it looks like there's a lot of heavy surveillance. But that used to be that's the first precinct. So it looks like there's a lot of cops around, so I'm not gonna chance it and get myself harassed. There was already one guy eyeing me. So, although that's the first precinct, the sign on the building says 4th precinct. Alright, sorry about that. My camera had overheated. It is a bright sunny day, so if it's out in the sun too long, it'll overheat. But I wanted to come to this site, 6 Varick Street, which is now dry cleaners. Used to be the site of the first black-owned newspaper called Freedom's Journal. So it only lasted 2 years. They did advocate for the abolition of slavery, and due to, I don't know, creative differences or organizational differences in the philosophy of the newspaper, they disbanded. For most people that think of TriBeCa, they kind of think around this area. Really nice open area featuring this well, I consider it to be one of the most beautiful train stations, at least for the exterior. Check that out. Really nice old style train station. I'm gonna circle back to pick up my city bike, but I did want to show you a couple more areas. This building across the street is the oldest building in TriBeCa. You can kind of tell, has this Dutch design to it, kind of like what you would see in, oh, maybe not Amsterdam, but it is Dutch style. They used to, you could kind of, this liquor store sign was very distinctive. So it's very old. And I think there's a church nearby. So I think there's a city ordinance where you can't sell liquor within, I think, 200 feet of a church or a religious institution. So eventually that stopped. And some really cool looking storefronts. Beach Street. It's a nice looking park. TriBeCa used to be a very artist-friendly area, and I want to show you this building, the American Thread Company. Yeah, like I said, you know, TriBeCa features a lot of industrial buildings, creative product and manufacture products. So I guess this building was handled a lot of textiles and such. But this building has back in the 70s, 60s and 70s, this area used to be kind of, you know, forgotten. It used to be blighted, along with Soho. So a lot of artists used to squat this area and live in it. And there was a very famous artist by the name of Keith Haring. He's a pop artist. He squatted this building, and he actually, there's an art piece literally on the wall. So for the longest time they try to figure out how to, well, the real estate people try to figure out how to remove it and preserve it. Unfortunately, it's a very delicate situation to be able to handle the physical artwork, so they just left it there. So I don't know if someone's might be living in that unit where there's Keith Haring's artwork. And yeah, all right, I'm gonna go back to get the city bike. Actually, let me see if I can find. I totally completely passed this building, but I didn't want to talk about it. one more shot of the Ghostbusters Headquarters. If you haven't seen it, it's one of the classic movies. For all you young folks, it is not a scary movie. It's a comedy, and it's a lot of fun. And it stars Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd. And yeah, when it came out when I was a young kid, it was an awesome movie. So. Yes. Yeah, completely past this building. Let's see if we can get a better shot of it. This building right here, I won't be able to, maybe, I can't really punch in, but it's called the Merchants Refrigerating and Ice Manufacturing Company. So like I said, back in the day, TriBeCa had a lot of buildings manufacturing a lot of products, including perishable groceries such as eggs, milk, and butter. And to be able to keep that cool, they had to surround it and pack it with ice. So in order to keep the ice cool and chill, what they did was they pumped water from the bottom of the Hudson River, and they designed the building in such a way that would pump water and will circulate throughout the building, or at least an area of the building, to keep the ice chilled, and therefore keep the eggs, butter and milk cool, so so it could be enjoyed by the rest of the city. But yeah, so just to give you an idea. All right, time to get going.
They have a schedule from 11.
Maybe you've seen movies in black and white, but like old New York movies, black and white, there might be a scene of a man picking up a chunk of ice, and they would deliver it to someone's apartment, back when there was household refrigerators. So can you imagine that on a day like this, not having refrigeration and just a block of ice to kind of keep the things you want to eat cool and fresh? So yeah, back then life was pretty hard to even enjoy like things you might even take for granted, so like eggs, milk, and butter. I mean, how would you be able to get it? It's hard. Nowadays, that's not a problem. Alright, I'm gonna cut out from here, pick up my bike, and then slap on my helmet and whatnot. Alright, be right back. Alright, picked up my bike, and let me get you a shot of the Jenga building. I think someone would appreciate that. Alright, so like I said, this area has a long history with almost synonymous with movie making, and I'll take you to a spot where it's a long-standing landmark of the area. Let's see if we get to it first. Yeah, so this is called the Square Diner. It's actually in the shape of a triangle, and it looks like they're not in business, but yeah, it used to be a really cool old style looking diner. It used to be featured in a movie, a Nicolas Cage movie called It Could Happen to You. So Nicolas Cage and Brigitte Fonda. So I had to look that up. I couldn't exactly remember it. It was back in the mid-90s. Nicolas Cage played a cop, a New York City cop, and he won the lottery, and he didn't have money to leave a tip, so he promised the waitress, played by Brigitte Fonda, that he would split the money with her. So Rosie Perez was also in the movie. She played Nicolas Cage's wife. Of course, she was very upset that he made that deal. But it's a rom-com. I'm not sure if you want to check it out, but yeah. This is the Odeon. This is also a landmark restaurant within the TriBeCa area. It used to be called Towers Cafeteria back in the 70s, before the 70s. And yeah, let's see, I'm gonna have to make my way through here. I was hoping to get across Franklin Street, but I guess that's not possible. So I'll come around. There's a lot of construction going on. I'm on Church Street. This street was named after, of course, given to by the Trinity Church. Like I said, oh, here's 56 Leonard. And you can see that. I'm driving past through it. approaching another familiar site of TriBeCa. This used to be called the TriBeCa Grand Hotel. So right now it's called Roxy Hotel. It's a very famous corner. With a really cool looking marquee. Just so we get a better look. Has a cool looking old style clock. The entrance, it has a cool looking lounge. I've seen a movie here once before. It was really cool. So yeah. I guess I'll talk about it now since I see it. So this is the AT&T building. As you can see, it has no windows. It's a very odd looking building. I believe it just has, nobody actually works there, or no, there might be people working there, but it might be just a bunch of computer servers to keep the building cool. So yeah, let's see if we can get through here. There's the other side of Roxy Hotel. This is also an AT&T building. Has a Art Deco style and design. Lots of old style cast iron buildings. Trying to wait for this light. I think I'm riding along White Street, if I'm correct. I have to make my way pretty quickly. I could hear that truck barreling down the street, and it looks like he wasn't trying to pass me. But yeah, I'm on the very edge of what I consider TriBeCa, and I know this is not one of the prettiest sights in all of New York City, but this is an alleyway, which is one of the most filmed alleyways in all of the world, really. It's So lots of movies and TV shows, commercial music videos were filmed here. And you can probably tell why. It has a cool, really cool industrial cityscape of fire escapes. So yeah, a lot of these buildings used to be just manufacturing. Even as back as far as the 80s, there used to be garment factories in Chinatown. And now they're probably, you know, office lofts. I think this building might still be a garment factory. It looks like it still is. From the looks of the, you can't tell, but there's fluorescent lights. Sorry about that. It's good that they're keeping it clean. It does look old and grungy, but you know, it is a very cool looking location. Actually smells clean because they bleached it down. Here's a reverse shot. Looking towards Canal Street. So Cortland Alley is 3 streets long. We've seen about and this is the last street. Really cool looking window shutters and fire escapes. And this used to be site of the smallest museum called the Mmuseumm. Yeah, pretty cool. So New York City doesn't actually have a whole lot of alleys, only because of you know, how valuable the land is. So every square inch is valuable. So difficult to just give that up to, like, you know, for alleys. Of course, alleys are good for being able to, for garbage trucks to, you know, get rid of garbage and make deliveries. You know, delivery trucks can make deliveries and moving. But nowadays, everything is double parked. So we get a lot of traffic and congestion. And, yeah. New York City wasn't really planned that way, not like Chicago. And of course, Chicago had a big Chicago fire at the turn of the century, so they were able to like redesign their city to be more spread out. So I want to show you this building, which is 368 Broadway, which was the home of a very popular YouTuber. I won't drop his name, but you could probably find out very easily who he is. On a personal note, I did share, I didn't share, but I was in the same building as this YouTuber. So I used to have, you know, a studio on the 3rd floor of this building. That's 368. So, as you can see, a lot of these buildings are very old. There's still a lot of development in this area, which is not too surprising considering the age of this area. You can see across the street there's actually a empty lot right now. They're probably getting ready to do construction and make way for another condo building or office building. But there are condos here. A lot of old buildings. There's another one. 346 Broadway. Look at this. The buildings here are landmarked to preserve the style and the feel of the neighborhood. But some buildings might be beyond renovation, so they might have to just demolish the building and reconstruct it. Like I said, a lot of double parking. Right now I'm on Reade Street, which used to be the home of a very significant person back in the colonial times. His name was Pierre Toussaint, and Pierre Toussaint was born a Haitian slave. So his master, a French family, took him back to New York at the age of 17, and he was an apprentice to become a hairstylist. So he became a wealthy man. The family was being a hairstylist. So you could probably call him, well, some people do call him the Vidal Sassoon of TriBeCa, or New York City. So this is not where he actually lived, but this is where the vicinity of where he used to live. Yeah, he was a very important figure, very charitable man. He donated a lot of money to the Catholic Church. He was Catholic, and Yeah, he has a very interesting story. I'm not a historian, so you could definitely look him up and see what he was about. So let me see if I can come through this area. And actually he's buried at the St. Patrick's Cathedral on 5th Avenue. So he was so charitable and so highly well regarded. Right now his status is among the Roman Catholic Church is venerable, which is the penultimate stage before you could be considered a saint. Let me see if I can come through this area. Let me slap on my camera on my chest. I'm gonna walk through it because of the So this site right in Pierre Toussaint's backyard is the African American burial site. It wasn't until the 90s, early 90s, that this site was uncovered. It was discovered. A lot of this area features a lot of federal buildings, and at the time they were, doing construction, they found a mass grave here, which total about 15,000 bodies were buried here. So I remember back then there was a huge protest to preserve the site. Obviously they were able to do so, and yeah, it is now part of the National Parks exhibit. Hi. Right across the street, although not part of TriBeCa, is Foley Square, and that used to be the site of a slave revolt. Forget what year, in the 1700s. I think 1741. But yeah, there was a huge revolt amongst the slaves. There were 17 slaves that were hanged, along with 4 whites. There was they were trying to, I don't know the exact circumstances or the exact case, but there was some kind of conspiracy, and yeah. Anyway, let me try to continue. I'm gonna have to circle around this way. Before I forget, let me slap on move my cam to my helmet. All right. no. Very tight squeeze. Maybe I could get back in. Yep. Maneuvering. Might as well wait. Okay. Let me stop for a second so I could get a sip of water. So I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. I did want to show you this cool looking old signage. I don't know if you can read that, but it says brush up business with paint, paper, paint, paste, paper, and push. Okay. So there's a illustration of someone's hand holding up a brush. You know, I guess they used to brush up advertisement, kind of like billboards back in the day. So pretty cool to be able to still see that. I'm approaching Duane Park. This park was named after the first mayor of New York City, John Duane. And this park was the first purchased by the city from Trinity Church as the first open space area for the city. And they were able to purchase it for the equivalent of $5 back in the day. So it's a very small park, but still to be able to buy a piece of land for the equivalent of $5 back in that time is like giving it away, you know? So it's pretty cool. Let's see if I can come along in this area. This area is very nice. It opens up. This park opens up to this area where you see a lot of like overhanging awnings. And yeah, we've come across one of the most photographed areas of New York City. This is Staple Street, and of course you see in the distance is the Skybridge. Unfortunately, it has the scaffolding, which doesn't look very nice. But anyway, this used to be this building used to be the New York City Hospital. So this building right here. So I think the entrance to this building would serve as the emergency room, and the Skybridge would serve as the, to go between this building, which is like maybe the infirmary. So yeah, and further down is the it's like an AT&T building, I think. It's called Western Union. Let me see if I could just bike around that area. So you have a look. I don't want to go on the cobblestone, it's very bumpy. Very cool looking building, done in the design in the Art Deco style. Would be the entrance to the hospital back then. Right now I think it's vacant, so if you have I believe the price now is $35 million. So if you have $35 million, you could buy this, I think, a loft, a floor on this building. It used to go as far as $50 million because of the Skybridge. Yeah, let me circle around so you get to see the back behind. Might be a better site. I'll try to get closer for you. It is one of the most Instagrammable places in New York City, along with the shot in Dumbo with the Manhattan Bridge in the distance. Let me bike through this area too. I said, TriBeCa features a lot of trendy shops and boutiques and restaurants. It's a very expensive area. I'm running up against traffic on Greenwich Street. I do want to show you this area. Sorry, it's a little bumpy, but these row of houses are kind of reminiscent of the style of the buildings back in the day. It was done in what's called federal style. So I'm just gonna walk it. So these homes weren't actually originally here. So if you can see across from me, there's obviously more recent building construction, and this whole lot of area was, including this area, was demolished. So to make way for new development. So they actually transported some of the homes on Washington Street down here, so to kind of keep and preserve this building style. Of course, they're worth millions of dollars. And there is a driveway. And you can just kind of see it from the side. Okay. I've been through this area, not in these buildings, the federal style buildings, but I've been in through that part of the area, and surprisingly, it was a really nice home. Surprisingly, the person that lives there lived, I don't know if she still lives there, but she lived there under Section 8 housing, believe it or not. So, you know, government sponsored housing. To get through this area. I'm just gonna bike. Not a lot of people on the path. There's some shopping here. Duane Reade. It's like the I'm gonna take a guess. Duane Reade's original location was at Duane and Reade Street, or between it. Educated guess. More buildings here. And up ahead is the city. So Sorry about that. My camera overheated. So let me continue. But like I said, they had leveled off this neighborhood. I don't know, maybe in the 60s or 70s. But this is now home to the City Group. So yeah, a lot of those homes that you saw on Harrison Street, they were transported from, I'm approaching Washington Street. Some more old style industrial buildings. More construction. I just passed Broadway Street, which is a French name, and there's another French name by the name of L'Esplanade. So part of this area used to be known as L'Esplanade Meadows. But don't let that name fool you, because it used to be a swampland back in the day. And that swamp was infested with mosquitoes, and were responsible for a lot of diseases and malaria and, you know, TB. So back then, life was not easy, even for the rich. Because just like now today, you just can't escape a pandemic. So all you could do is just really stay safe. Across. Let me come across this area. Then across the street is sanitation. That's a cool building across the street there. But, yeah, I got duck. So I'm right off the West Side Highway on West Street, and I'm here at Canal Park. And this park, this beautiful park, was recently built in 2005. So, but before that, for 80 years, this actually used to be a construction site. Construction parking area, very ugly and blighted. But the reason why I want to stop here is that there's a filmmaker by the name of Andrew Wonder. I think he does like short little films and commercials, but actually he did a video about 10 years ago going through the underground. He actually started from, I think, Chambers Street, and he came out of the West Side Highway and walked along and came here. I'll link to the video below and you can see it, but actually he lifted with a crowbar along with the cameraman and came down through that manhole. So, and he made the decision to even go even further in, and he was able to, you know, tell us, you know, explain it, that the you can see the sewage drain, which is actually the original canal stream that they had built back in the colonial times to drain some of the water from this area. Because back in the day, all of TriBeCa used to be, or most of Manhattan used to be very hilly. So in order to kind of flatten the area out and to kind of drain the swamp area, like I said, with West Bernard Meadows, so they built a stream to kind of drain out the water, and you can actually see it. It's a functioning stream emptying out to the Hudson River. So you can actually see, yeah, I'll link in the video down below, but you can see kind of the archway where there used to be a footpath, and yeah, that was really cool to see. So definitely thank you for that, Andrew. Otherwise we have never known, and you know, we wonder why Canal Street is called Canal Street. Yeah, there is a stream. So that'll do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed the tour. Sorry I rambled on a bit more than I wanted to, and I didn't really follow my route I was planning for, but there was a lot to cover. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you on the next one. All right, bye.